Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Ministry Shift. My name is Malcolm Mycock. I'm a curate in the Butnell Team Ministry, St John's Church in Abbey Alton. So this is our first live show of the Ministry Shift, and each week, basically, we're coming together to discuss a question, an area that, perhaps in this really difficult time of COVID-19, areas that we're finding, challenging, things that we're having to do different. So this week, you've probably guessed what we're going to be discussing this week. We're thinking about Holy Week and Easter and sort of without gathering, basically. And we've sort of come up with the title of Doing Easter Remotely. So joining me, I've got three distinguished guests who are going to bring the wisdom. Oh, so could you just briefly tell us who you are? So Mary, tell us who you are.
Hello, I'm Mary Smith and I'm the rector of Newport with Longford and Chetwynd in Shropshire.
Brilliant. And Matthew?
Matthew Parker, Archdeacon of Stoke-upon-Trent.
And Jim?
I'm Jim. I'm the rector at St Matthew's Church in Walsall.
Fantastic. Well, good to have you with us. Could I also just say that if you're watching on Facebook, watching live, please do send in your comments and any questions you might have, and we'll do our very best to answer them, if not this week, in future weeks. So should we get things kicked off? Okay, so Easter, Holy Week. Mary, can I ask you, what are you doing different? How is it for you? How are you going about Holy Week?
Well, obviously, it's very different. Holy Week, we usually have meditations in church each night and opportunities to just spend some time looking at the passion narratives, the lead up to Jesus's death, and then time in church with the rest of the churches in Newport together. So obviously we're not going to be able to do any of that gathering, so we're instead doing things over Facebook Live each afternoon and each evening, and then we're also going to be making sure that everybody's got a liturgy so that they can join in even if they can't use the internet.
Okay, and what about you, Jim?
Yeah, in some respects quite similar. We usually have a service every weekday evening during Holy Week, and then on Friday we have a really big walk of witness in the town centre, which won't be happening this year, but instead I pre-recorded some services to go online live at 6:30 every evening on our YouTube channel, and we're doing the walk of witness in a kind of online film version that we've not tried before, and the different churches are coming together that way. So I don't know how that'll work. Be interesting.
Sounds like fun.
It sounds like a lot of fun, doesn't it? Matthew, you got anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, well, of course, I not having a church of my own, I don't normally. I get invited to do various things during Holy Week, but it's quite a different experience from being a parish priest when you're just parachuted in, perhaps to do a Good Friday meditation or whatever. Actually, I had quite a good Holy Week plan for Trent Vale and Hart Hill, and unfortunately not able to do that this time around. But I will be joining others in presumably looking at online stuff and using those facilities.
Yeah. Fantastic, wonderful. So, what do you think, as far as sort of the congregation's concerned? I mean, what do you think is important for them at sort of at this time during Holy Week, and how are you trying to meet their sort of needs and expectations? Jim?
I think one of the things that will be really hard for a lot of people is communion. We're used to receiving communion on Easter Day, and also on Maundy Thursday actually at St Matthew's, and so we're going to try I'll do a communion service from my house and the spiritual communion side of things, but I think that'll feel very strange to some people. It will still be a celebration, but it'll be a celebration very much with a focus very much on Jesus, as opposed to celebrating getting together and enjoying Easter eggs and things like that, perhaps.
Yeah, sure.
I think there may also be the opportunity for some people to have a little bit more of a sense of Holy Week, because frankly, a lot of people are working, often working on Good Friday, and so they jump straight from Palm Sunday to Easter Day without passing go, and certainly not passing through Good Friday. But I think perhaps one opportunity might be to recreate a better sense of Holy Week as a daily journey leading up to the cross, and then ultimately, of course, to Easter Day.
Yeah, I think Holy Saturday will have a deeper significance perhaps than ever before, when there's that kind of nothingness happening and, you know, a complete uncertainty. And I think that will make quite an impact on people. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. I've got a retired vicar, a PTO in my in the Newport parish particularly, and she's very. She thinks this period that we're going through is very much like Holy Saturday. And so she's going to be spending some time on Holy Saturday doing a big reflection for us about how COVID-19 is impacting on our lives and making us ever in that moment of waiting, of that sort of disappointed waiting in a sense, not quite certain what's going to happen. And so, you know, I think it's really something for our times, actually, thinking about Holy Saturday a bit more than perhaps I've done before.
That is the real challenge, isn't it? How do we bring to bear the whole richness of the narrative of Holy Week and Easter to this particular situation? And I'm thinking about things like isolation and distancing and the cross, and you know, it's just trying to work out how we tie up some of that kind of theological stuff with the particular circumstances in which we find ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly people have more time to sort of, well, to pause and think, don't they, at the moment? And like I say, that could be quite nice for people. So I'm just wondering, compared to what, I know things are different because things have been done, if you like, from a distance, remotely, or over Zoom or Messenger, whatever it might be. But what are you keeping, if you like, in your Easter? What is the series going to be similar in some ways and different in others, or are you trying to still include all the various parts of what you normally do at Easter?
For me, this is my second Easter in post, and I'm trying to move forward in a sense while standing still. So there are things that I want us to change, to develop, and one of the things I really want us to be able to do is have a bigger music group, or like a choir, really at Easter time. And so that's one of the things we're trying to do over Zoom, is to have a Zoom choir. Now, I've heard that it has worked because there's a choir in the area that's using Zoom for their rehearsals. So, do you know, just trying to do something different, but maybe in future, if people like having that sort of festival choir, as it were, it might be something to add to what we do.
Fantastic, yeah. So Jim, what about you? What about you? I mean, okay, you kind of talked about what you would perhaps normally do in the procession and various things. That's impossible. But I mean, do you think Easter's going to be similar in some ways? Will he?
Certainly, the liturgy. Actually, I've just before we came on air, I've been preparing the Easter service, and the liturgy is really actually very, very appropriate, and it seems to work beautifully in this situation. And looking forward, and you know, we are a people of hope. That kind of side of things. I think one of the things that I've learned through this experience is actually how we can engage with those people who are socially isolated all of the time and aren't able to get to church. And we've discovered that we can actually now broadcast our services down a phone line at a local rate. So we're going to try that as well on Easter Day for those people who don't have the internet access.
Right. Yeah. Wonderful. Okay. I mean, what do you do? And this is quite a difficult question, probably. But what do you think sort of being lost this year? You know, in sort of the fact that we can't sort of meet with people face to face. I mean, actually, I think what you've said, there's a lot of positive stuff there. I mean, what about you, Matthew? What do you?
I think there is a lot of positive stuff, but I think it's really important to just stay for a little while with the loss. It's tempting to say we're going to be positive, and it's great to be positive and upbeat and all the rest of it. But actually, it's going to be a difficult Easter for many people. For some of the reasons we've already explained, and it's kind of, we don't want to rush onto Easter Day again before we've suffered the Good Friday of this experience. And I just think we need to be careful we don't. I think you're right to say we will have lost something, and how we cope with that loss and how we reconcile it, I think is going to be quite significant for us, because of course Easter only begins on Easter Day, and there's a whole greater 50 days, and keeping the momentum going is going to be quite a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Sorry, Jim.
I was going to say something. I think that we can learn from, and actually it can develop an empathy with us, is with the persecuted church who can't celebrate Easter openly anyway. And I think that is something that will speak deeply into where we go to, actually.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that's spoken quite loudly to me is people saying that they've missed going bell ringing, or they've missed going and joining in the music group each week and practicing those things that we have, those regular weekly things that actually we do mourn for, whether we know or not that we are mourning for them. That ordinary life, it is suspended at the moment. And so I think, we're all living through a loss, whether we try and put a brave face on it or we recognise that actually the patterns of life have changed. So I do think it is important to recognise that and give people permission to say, it's hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember as a parish priest, what a wonderful thing Bank Holiday Monday was after Easter Day. It's that real sense of satisfaction. I've worked really hard, but it's been good, hard work. I'm tired, but I'm glad. It's a kind of tiredness I'm pleased about, and that won't happen with it in quite the same way.
I mean, one of the things that I found very difficult was I woke up on Palm Sunday morning and found myself wanting to wish my wife happy Easter, because I've been thinking of the Easter service a week in advance and very much involved in it. I've kind of lost track of the days a bit, and it does feel very disjointed this year.
Yeah.
I'm really sad to not be going into schools to do assemblies and to be able to spend the time with the kids around Easter. It's a real opportunity to speak about faith and about life and about what's really important. Christmas is always so high in kids' priorities, and Easter gets a little bit swept aside. And I just feel that that's a real loss for me this year. Not to be able to say, do you know why you have Easter eggs? Yeah. It's not just because they're chocolate, but
I mean,
after Easter, we're going to work on that. Sorry.
No, sorry, Mary. I was butting in as per normal, keeping my mouth shut. No, I just think, as you mentioned children there, I just wondered, is anybody doing anything particularly with children in mind?
Yes, we are. Yeah. Our service, we have an all-age slot as part of the service, and we're actually producing service sheets every week and sending them out so the children can engage in those whilst the sermon's going on. And also, our Easter service will actually be much more child-friendly, perhaps, than some of the other services we've done.
Okay.
Picking up on something that Mary just said, of course, for those churches that are online, there's never actually been a better chance to invite people to an Easter service. It's much, much easier for people to come along. So I think we need to be encouraging our churches to invite people to our online Easter services.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Listen, we are approaching our end of our time slot. Okay. I know there's a lot more that you'd like to say and could say. I suppose what I want to say to people, I hope you've enjoyed listening in. If you've got comments or questions that you'd like to send in to us, please do so. We'd love to hear those. And we'll be back we'll be back next Monday at 4:30. Looking at another question. Will be the other side of Holy Week. And we'll see how we've all done. So please do tune in again. Can I just say, Mary, Matthew, Jim, thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate your input and your wisdom. So thank you so much. And we'll see you next week. So you take care. God bless. Happy Easter. See you soon.
Bye.